so I'll keep it short and sweet. But this is an event for International Women's Day with Code Your Future, so it'd be nice to partner with them. We've got some amazing speakers today. So we've got Anna, we've got Faruna, who I was lucky enough to work with, and Varuna too. So I'll let Anna kick us off with her speech.
Hello everyone, this is the first time I've done this, so if I die while on stage, that's why. Here's me in cold, it's missing a few experts, don't worry about it, I'll fix it later. I have to get used to this. So, I'm not your average IT person, probably the fact that I'm a woman makes that true. I'm also autistic, which is great. And well, I grew up on council estate on benefits, which meant I kind of grew up not knowing anyone in a white collar role, not like having ambitions to go into a white collar role. It was just something over there somewhere, not very important, not very significant to me. Also was looked after by a wonderful, loving mom without a father for a while, which, complicated. I love legacy software. We get on, it's great. Never died. My best friend is 18-year-old Perl application. And also I'm funny, whilst so compulsory. If you say you are, then you are. And this is how it started. I love computers as long as I can remember. I have destroyed so many of those silly little wee tech, half computers, half embedded software, whatever things, trying to figure out how computers work from an embedded computer is probably not a good idea, especially if you tend to lose parts down the side of your bunk bed. But I really felt that IT wasn't for me. Like I said, I didn't really know anyone in a white collar job. I didn't really know anyone in IT except an uncle in Scotland that I haven't seen. Well, I've seen once in 10 years, and he's super genius. He works for a big game studio up in Scotland. I thought IT was all white straight men, which put me off because, you don't really, it is, I won't lie to you, it is a lot of white straight men, but that doesn't mean you can't succeed. And also I'm terrible at maths, absolutely terrible at maths. And I thought I needed to be good at maths, which apparently is a somewhat common misconception. This is the first weird part of the story. I was something of a clever child, and I got talked into doing a law degree when I was 15. So that was part-time. I just did that until I was 20, because I took a gap year. It was more interesting schoolwork, which was great. But it quickly became apparent that I really wasn't well suited for a legal career, because I'm not someone who can just barrel my way through and succeed in a cutthroat environment. But I did have a lot of fun along the way. I got to visit Wormwood Scrubs, compete in mooting, which is like fake court cases sort of things. That was a lot of fun. I actually even competed in a competition for a mooting team at York University. Met a lot of interesting people. Some of them were prisoners, but that's okay. And my choice of degree was a silly choice, but I was 14 at the time the decision was made. And it was based purely on this idea that lawyers are this campaigning justice person. No, they're not. They're just white collar employees, just like everyone else in the office job, except that some of them get to stand up in court and talk to people. I learned a lot though. I gained a lot of confidence, and I learned that I'm actually pretty good at English, so that's good. This computer is solely and wholly responsible for my IT career. it's older than me, and I haven't seen it because it's long since dead, in about 7 years. Basically, it was a misguided gift from a friend of my mother's who wanted to give us access to a computer because there's 6 of us kids, so, always going through computers because the little ones are always breaking things. But obviously, as you can see, it's completely useless. It was like 30 megahertz. But I learned a lot from pulling it apart because it broke within 3 days of me having it. So I learned a lot from pulling it apart. I had a lot of fun playing around with it, and it just made me fall in love with computers again. I'd forgotten how much I liked computers because I was so busy doing my law degree. And eventually, I started just out of tiny seeds. A little business selling, refurbishing computers and games consoles and car boots and just random stuff like that. Didn't make a lot of money, but it was a lot of fun. But it did annoy my mum because that's what my bedroom looked for 4 years. Though to be fair, that's the worst batch. It wasn't very big. So yeah, that was fun. I learned a lot. Gained a lot of confidence, met a lot of interesting computers and servers and stuff, and laid the foundations for IT career. So yeah, this is my first job, my very first paying job. So I was after university. It was clear to me I'm not going to do a legal career. I'm just not. So I started trying to apply for first line support roles, messed up a lot. The first time a recruiter reached out to me, I thought he was talking about a face-to-face interview where he was obviously just talking about a phone screening interview. And then on the call, I messed up so badly that recruitment company has never contacted me again. But yeah, so I did eventually manage to get into. They decided they didn't like me, but second into was this company called UniqueX, and they're basically a company that delivers movies and ads to cinemas. So we've got physical servers and cinemas all over the world, and basically my job was to look after those servers, and yeah, basically that's it. I learned a lot about cinema business, had a lot of fun, messing around with different things, and it's really interesting how it all works behind the scenes. Everything's run by a server. Most of them are running operating system that Sony makes, which is quite interesting. And I made some big mistakes. I messed up advertising for the whole of the real estate in the UK for half a day. And then I messed up FTP, which is critical for integration with their Sony servers, because our servers had to be available for Sony servers takes the movies off them in many sites in Sweden and other places. So I messed up 300 servers configuration or something like that, which was great. And I ended up being taken from being on part-time furlough to full-time for a bit because I wanted to fix my own mistakes. So I actually got money from fixing my mistakes in a roundabout way. But yeah, I was furloughed for 3 months full-time, couple of months part-time. Shortly after, 6 months after I joined, because COVID. And I learned the hard way you have to ask for pay rises. I mean, while I did mess up a lot, I was also running a department for over COVID. And that was a department that was supposed to have 3 people in it. I was doing it single-handedly for most of that time. So, furlough, really important to me. It's just as important as the 486. So I fell in love with programming again because really bored. I wrote a massive heap of interesting open source projects. Learned a lot. Those are my 3 most starred open source projects. So there's a Node.js PXA server, which is so obscure that unless you've done some quite some deep system admin stuff, you probably don't have the foggiest what I'm talking about. Some random front-end projects I did for a blog post that for some reason people like to fork for some reason. And C# user store thingy. If you know C#, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, I don't have time to explain, I don't think. So this is my current job. So it took me a long time to decide to leave UniqueX because even though it got repetitive at times, and I wasn't paid my worth and all that sort of stuff, but the people are good. I did genuinely enjoy parts of my job, so it was hard to decide to leave, but in the end I did leave, and I'm incredibly happy that I did at the time, because it was like the day I decided to leave, a recruiter messaged me an hour later, and I had decided to leave at 10 p.m. So I don't know what that recruiter was doing, but they definitely got my attention. And I love this job for a lot of reasons. So I get to do a bit of everything, which kind of the way my brain works, I get bored really quick with things. So I get to dip in and out of things, and then it makes it more interesting for me. I learn a lot because I'm always in the deep end, but that's why I'm happiest in the deep end. Got to learn and absorb information. And yeah, one of my favourite applications, my favourite application is called Autoform. It's 18. It's written in Perl. It's an extremely obscure programming language, which for reasons I'm fluent in. And I'm currently working on translating it into Java, which is something I really enjoy. And yeah, the business values me, and that's something that means a lot to me, because it's really special when even the CEO cares about what you're doing, and yeah, that's something you can't put value on. Right. Yeah, I can't say it, just doesn't make sense. I get on with all my co-workers, and for some reason they laugh at my jobs. It's probably because a significant proportion of them work in the call centre, and they everyone knows call centre jobs are not fun. And I don't have a commute, which again is something you can't put a price on, because I used to have a 2-hour commute, so I haven't actually explained what CallCare does, have I? CallCare is an outsourced call centre company, basically. So because it's telecom stuff, a lot of this stuff has to be on site, because obscure telephone stuff is obscure, and we can't even have AWS, so we run bare metal Kubernetes. We're probably like one of a tiny percentage of companies that do that, but we do it. And yeah, it did once fall from my face, but that's beside the point. It wasn't my fault. And Code Your Future has been really important to me. It's so important that I've given it its own slide, which I wouldn't have done if I couldn't be bored. Yeah, so I've been volunteering with CUF for quite a while since I started this cohort. I've been doing a couple different things. I've been a teaching assistant, been a body, but mainly a body, and it's been really good. I've been able to see the trainees grow from really struggling with even the basic concepts to starting to really quick and making beautiful applications. and some of the ones I was working with didn't really find the full stack to be for them, but they got to go down the pathways. So one of them's doing front end, one of them's doing test, and they're both really loving what they're doing. So that's really special. And I've gained a lot of confidence. Helped plan my first takeaway, which is this one. And I got to visit HMP Humber, which is a prison near Hull that has a project where they're teaching programming to prisoners. So one of the co-founders of CEF took me along there, and it was really interesting because they don't have the same kind of access to the internet or just things like that we take for granted when we're learning how to code. They've got to have that offline stack overflow, all that sort of stuff, rather than just searching on the internet, because prisoners aren't allowed access to the internet. So yeah, that was really interesting, really inspiring, and it was incredible to see the good work they're doing. And I'm hoping to stick around for the next cohort as well, if I see a wet swing. So that's gone fairly fast. So I've got some things I've learnt. Advocate for yourself. If you don't ask, you don't get. And if you don't get, then you lose out. So you need to speak up for yourself. I wish I could have told me earlier, but can't be helped. Not got a time machine. You don't need to know where your career will end up when you start. When I was 15, I was fixated on the idea of being a barrister. I was so clear in my mind how it would work, how I would end up being a judge in the High Court. Me. Me, you can't even do dresses. It's kind of a stretch, but I end up here and I'm happy, and that's what really matters. Well, you enjoy your life because you only get one shot at this. Follow your heart, not stereotypes, because it's very easy to get scared off by stereotypes surrounding IT, and the stereotypes surrounding hobbies or interests, like a gym even. Follow your heart. And you don't need to work for household brain to be happy and love your job. Tech fetishize is fine. We probably shouldn't, because they're kind of nasty to their employees. And sweep on every offer. I'm very prone to just accepting things on a knee-jerky sort of premise. I don't do that. I make sure I sweep on every offer, every interview before I decide I'm going to proceed with it or not. That is more or less it. Does anyone have any questions? Any questions?
I have a question.
Oh, great, thanks.
Don't worry, it'll be easy. So I know that you wanted to join Code Your Future as a way for you to share what you already know, but could you explain more about working with people who have slightly different stories than you and how you build their confidence?
That's a good question. I think it's just by being encouraging. It's meant a lot genuinely. The conversations I've had with Chinese and telling them, it's all gonna be okay. Everybody goes through this. Googling is not cheating. And you don't need to know every bit of syntax when you start out, and most senior developers don't either. everything takes time, and some amount of head bashing against walls is, to be expected. It's part and parcel of being a software developer, and it's so easy for people just starting to get downcast about that, but yeah, they shouldn't be. Anything else? That means it was a good talk. I could just stand here and make jokes next time.